Georgia's Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger released a new book this week called Integrity Counts. And to be honest, what I think Raffensperger's trying to do here is paint himself as a sympathetic figure and, trying to save his career after Donald Trump essentially tried to end it. But he does make a couple of claims that are worth noting. First and foremost, one of the claims is what we have talked about repeatedly, is the fact that he and his wife both started receiving death threats after Donald Trump basically called him out for not overturning the election. That is not okay. I know Raffensperger has done some horrible things. None of these individuals deserve to be threatened. None. In any way, shape, or form. I don't care who it is. I'm not even happy that Matt Gaetz is getting threatened. I don't think any of that should be happening, okay? So there's that. But the more explosive claim in the book was that he did in fact perceive Donald Trump's phone call where he told him to find the votes. Raffensperger and many members of his staff, he says, perceived it to be a threat. That was a threat, Raffensperger said. So here's the thing. Now that we know how Raffensperger, the recipient of that phone call, perceived things to be, that could absolutely change the trajectory of the ongoing investigation in the state of Georgia into whether or not Donald Trump attempted to interfere with their elections. Everybody always forgets, by the way, that investigation is still happening. Everybody's focused on New York. But the one in Georgia is actually moving forward even faster than what's happening in New York. And yes, it does carry criminal penalties. And now we have Raffensperger on the record, essentially, with this book, and that's by his own admission that it's on the record, saying, I felt it was a threat. The way I perceived it, and he would, I guess, technically kind of be the victim in this situation, I perceived it to be a threat. My office perceived it to be a threat. Because what the prosecution would have to do, and again, we've talked about this, they have to prove intent. How did Trump come across? Was he like, dude, go find the votes, right? You still got to go find them. Or was it, go find the votes for me, okay? They perceived it to be the latter. If it is in fact the latter, then you have a prosecutable offense. That's why these claims are exceptionally important. And Raffensperger has pointed out in interviews this week that prosecutor, Fani Willis, she can have the book. She can get a copy of it. But she also doesn't need it because we've given her everything. We've given her documents. We've given her call logs. We've sat for interviews. They have everything that we have. That's the biggest revelation of this week from Raffensperger, that he and his office have been cooperating with the prosecutors in the state of Georgia. That's good news. That's remarkable news. Now, again, this does not absolve Raffensperger of any of his past sins, right? He's one of the people who pushed Georgia's new repressive voter suppression law. So he's still a jackass, but he might be the jackass that takes down Donald Trump, and I'll give him a little credit for that. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you want even more Ring of Fire, we encourage everyone to like, comment, share, but most importantly, subscribe, and don't forget, you can find me on all social media outlets at Fair and Balanced.